Happy Valentine's Day. I think we all need to have in our hip pocket a really special dinner that we can put together for either a special someone or for friends and family, something that looks really special but isn't really that difficult to make. And that's what we're going to do today. So for our appetizer course, I just made one thing that I actually cooked, and the rest of this all came from the store. What I did cook ahead of time are these rosemary spiced cashews. I'm going to give you the recipe, but they were super easy. This is just brie that I've drizzled with honey and some pistachio nuts. This is boursin and some fresh berries and some water crackers. There's nothing more elegant and easy than just a bottle of champagne or sparkling wine. And so that's what our first course is. First thing we're going to make is our salad. And this is a special salad made with endive and Basque pears and blue cheese and toasted walnuts and a special homemade dressing. Good olive oil. 3 tablespoons of champagne vinegar, a half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, and 1 extra large egg yolk that's been out at room temperature. And this is just going to whisk into this lovely vinaigrette. So for the salad, what I've done is I've taken about 6 endives. This is what an endive looks like. And to prepare this, what you want to do is you want to cut off the bottom, then cut it in half, and then you want to take out this little core. And once you've done that, you can just separate out these leaves and just spread them out on the plate. I'm going to core the pear. Then I'm just going to cut it into little wedges. And I'm going to put this in a bowl because I'm going to put a little bit of our salad dressing on top of it. Okay, and then I'm just going to toss those pears, make sure they're all coated in the dressing. And next I'm going to take my walnuts, and these walnuts I toasted in the oven for about 7 minutes. Then I'm going to take our blue cheese. And what I want to do is crumble this. Pour a little bit of dressing over the salad. And then the last thing is I'll arrange a few pears on top. And that's it. Very simple, but isn't that beautiful? So next we're going to work on dessert. And dessert is going to be like a special parfait. The first layer is going to be raspberries that we're going to macerate with some Grand Marnier and some sugar. And then we are going to make elephant ears, and that's what we're going to make now. These look really difficult, but they are not. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of sugar and a pinch of salt. And I'm just going to stir that around together. And then I'm going to put this on my board. Then I'm going to take 1 sheet of puff pastry, and then I am going to open it right onto this sugar. I'm going to press this down. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to take my other 1/2 cup of sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm going to mix these together. So I've got a cinnamon sugar, and then I'm going to put this on the top side of my puff pastry. So in the meantime, I have preheated my oven to 450 degrees. Now I'm just going to take my rolling pin and I'm going to roll this out a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing the sugar into the pastry. And what I'm going for is a square. Now is the folding. This is almost like origami. So just imagine that you've kind of divided this in half. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sides and I'm going to fold them until they're about halfway to that halfway mark. And then we'll fold them again towards the middle. Okay, and then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to fold this right up over itself. So what we have are 6 layers. So now I'm just going to cut these into about 1/2 inch cookies. So now I have my prepared baking sheet, and I'm just going to lay them onto the sheet. So now these are gonna go into our 450-degree oven for 6 minutes. Then I'm gonna take them out, I'm gonna flip them over and cook them for another 3 or 4 minutes. So while our cookies are in the oven, I'm going to try to break these raspberries up a little bit with a fork. But once they're broken down a little bit, I'm gonna add some sugar, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of Grand Marnier. And we'll stir that around and just let it sit out at room temperature. Take these out and flip them over. So we're gonna put them back in the oven for about another 5 minutes. Okay, so our cookies look like they're done. I'm just gonna put them onto some cookie racks to cool off. So our dinner tonight is a pork tenderloin that I'm gonna slice thin, pound, and make a really delicious Dijon cream sauce with spring green onions. I have a 1 pound pork loin, and I'm going to slice this into about 1/2-inch slices. So I'm going to transfer our slices to a plate. I have a layer of wax paper down, and I'm going to put these little bits of pork loin on here. So then I'm going to take my second piece of wax paper, put it down over the top. Then I'm going to take the flat side of my meat tenderizer, and I'm going to bang these things out so they're about 1/4 inch thick. Okay, so I have a clean plate, and I'm going to dredge these pieces of meat. This is 1/3 cup of flour, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the water boiling on my double boiler here, because I'm going to steam these green beans. So I have 3 spring onions, green onions. I'm going to cut the ends off of them, and then I want to divide them into the green parts and the white parts. I'm just going to finely chop. This will go into the sauce. This will be garnished for the top of the pork. So for the sauce, I'm going to need 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to cut that in half because I think I'm going to have to cook my pork in 2 batches. 1/3 cup of white wine. Then I'm going to need 1/4 cup of Dijon mustard, a cup of heavy whipping cream. Okay, so I've got my ingredients ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to heat up my skillet, and I'm going to put 1/2 of the butter in there. And then I'm going to take my pork, and I'm going to cook it for about 2 minutes on each side. So my water is boiling. I'm going to put my beans into the steamer, and I'm going to steam them for about 5-6 minutes. Once those are cooked through, I'm going to put them on a platter. Then I'm going to add the rest of the butter and cook my second batch. So again, just 2 minutes on each side. So I'm going to take the white parts of the onions and add them. And I'm just going to saute the white parts of the onions for about a minute. Okay, those look good. Now I'm going to add 1/3 cup of white wine. I'm going to let that cook down until the wine is about 2-3 tablespoons. I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. And it's going to thicken up, and it's going to create a sauce. So then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take that 1/4 cup of Dijon and add it to our sauce, is I just want to season my sauce a little bit. So I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. I'm just going to pour it right over the pork. And then the last thing is I'm going to garnish the pork with some of those green onions. Okay, so our pork is ready. So the last thing I'm going to do is put our desserts together. So I have these French wine glasses. I'm going to put a little bit of the raspberry in the bottom, and then I'm going to put a little creme fraiche on top. And then I'm just going to top these with one of our cookies. Doesn't that look pretty? And how easy was that? So happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a very special day. I hope you're able to share it with somebody that you love. I hope you try some of these dishes. And if you do, please let me know. Cheers.
with